Hi everyone, this is Lotus with Art of Sacred Embodiment. Hello. I wanted to share a short video today. I want to follow up on a comment that I received in one of my threads on Facebook about about this pocket that sometimes we dip into that feels a little detached along the ascension process, right? Along the awakening process, where we begin to feel maybe a little numb, a little detached, a little shut down, a little separate from any space of love, a little separate from other people that we normally feel connected to. And we might also experience this as feeling a little disconnected and discombobulated from our own being. So, so I wanted to go into this piece a little bit in more detail, kind of the subtleties of what go on during the embodiment process. And this was such a great comment that I received, and so I thought it was definitely worth expanding on. So one of the easiest ways to talk about this is that, as we know, we're raising our frequency. As we know, there's a lot of new energies coming onto the planet, into our system. We could say it's like streaming in and through us. And ideally, we want to be doing this consciously so that we're very aware of what is being released, so we don't reaffirm it or reattach. And we also want to be aware that this is happening for situations and circumstances like what I was describing, because this and many other things are inevitable on a sensory level as we continue on this awakening. So when we're receiving a lot of light, oftentimes we'll go through periods where we're downloading, right? We're taking in so much new information and energy, but we have to remember that we don't always know what the information is because it's coming through in frequency, right? And it's activating our own innate frequencies of a higher expression as well. So a couple different things can happen as this is, we're taking in a lot, and then we might be feeling really high and expanded and elated and in that spacious connection for a day, for an hour, maybe even for a couple days, for a week. And then all of a sudden, we might just land right back into our physical form. We might land with a thud, as I've explained it a number of times, back into the physical body and the third dimensional, fourth dimensional reality, because where we were just at was tapping into the higher dimensions. And we have, this is a gradual process because we have to acclimate to the higher frequencies of light in our own system and in our own body. So when we kind of land with a thud or with exhaustion, or maybe even the new energy has kicked up a lot of old stuff that's moving out. So as that is moving out, we might be feeling more agitated. We might feel past grief. We might be feeling a sense of loss, a sense of old habits and patterns that we thought that we had already moved through. So one of the first things I want to say is this is totally normal, all right? There is nothing that's going wrong. We haven't slipped back. We're not regressing. This is the norm, and it does feel like, 3 steps forward, 1 or 2 steps, or maybe even 4 steps backwards. But really what's happening is we are assimilating and integrating all of the new information, and as we do that, we're not always going to feel that expansiveness and that high sense. So the description that was listed on my Facebook page, kind of this disconnect, right? Another piece that's happening is our personhood and our ego structure is being purified over and over and over again during this process. And every now and then we hit that point where our old identity is no longer rooted in our being. And ideally, we want to just keep letting it go, right? So what that means is we have to kind of hang out in this limbo land for a period of time. We end up feeling maybe that disconnection, that loss. And the first time or two, it's uncomfortable, right? It can be uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be, but it can be, because oftentimes it's a new sensation. It can feel like you're disassociated. If anybody has had any, any times or any periods of any kind of disassociative conditions, it can have a little bit of a sense of that, and so that can feel a little disconcerting. So I think it was maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, I don't remember, into my first initial process, and this is written about in my book, Awakening from the Dream, a Kundalini memoir. I had just received Kriya initiation, which is a specific meditation technique that involves a number of different elements to rapidly move through and in a faster trajectory, so to speak, of our expansion and awakening. And most people know this as it stemming from the lineage of Babaji Krishna, which is the main guru of Paramahansa Yogananda. So I received the Kriya initiation from Sri M, and he had been traveling over from India, and we had a meeting beforehand. I was accepted in for the initiation, and so I got the practice, I got the technique, and I started working with it. And I don't remember how long I had been working with this particular technique, but I started noticing very quick shifts in my consciousness, right? And in my relationship to the world around me. And I'd already been familiar with some of it and comfortable to a certain degree. But as I kept moving through these different states, what I didn't know then, now I understand, that the more energy, the higher frequencies that I was taking into my system was creating this new awareness, and this awareness of the purification process I felt very disconnected from everything basically in my life. I couldn't track time. Time felt like it was either speeding up or it was standing still. I couldn't track the days, right? And now we're very familiar with this. Most of us who are going through the ascension process, this has become the new norm. But this was back in 2000 and probably 5 or 6 or 7. And I was feeling very anxious. I was feeling kind of paranoid. I was feeling numbed out, so that those bliss states weren't present. I wasn't feeling my heart center very open or connected. I was just feeling like the Pink Floyd song says, comfortably numb. And it actually, the way that I was feeling reminded me a little bit of how I felt when I was in the years in the throes of my addictions. So I stopped. I stopped the meditation technique, and within a few days, I kind of grounded again. I started feeling more comfortable in my body, in my consciousness, instead of being kind of out here or way up here, was a little bit more manageable because it was more familiar. So, we stretch edges of consciousness when we go through this process. And as we stretch to new edges of consciousness, it is the unknown. So oftentimes, we don't know what to expect because there's not really a way to describe exactly what to expect. So we have to go through the process and get the direct experience to really understand it and grok it and know the flavors of it, so to speak. So when Sri M came back to visit, however long later, I asked him, I said, so, this is what I was experiencing, and is it okay that when things start feeling too much that I stop the meditation? And his answer, now I look back and it was perfect, and of course, a lot of these masters, they don't give you all of the information. They don't give you all of the, all of the subtleties, because that's part of our own mastery, right? That's part of our own learning process and our level of, our own levels and abilities to keep persevering by listening to soul. So he said, basically in a nutshell, that of course you can always stop. However, if you want to get to your next levels, you have to continue to acclimate the new energies that are coming in. You have to keep creating a new threshold. And so by stopping, basically, right, I might have been at this threshold, but by stopping, we drop. And that it's not good or bad, right or wrong. It just really has to do with where we're at the time, what we need to do, what kind of guidance we might have or not have, and how it is affecting our lives. Ideally, we want to keep moving through those points, those places of the unknown sensations, experiences, feeling discombobulated and lost, because we're moving to a new level. Our sacred technology is being upgraded, and it takes time for this new experiential way of being to be embodied and to become the new norm, so to speak. So the comment that I got really kind of dovetailed with this perfectly. And, and you can see all through my book and my story where, there was definitely pushing forward, moving into vast areas of unknown and then kind of contracting back down. And it really can just be part of the process. Now we're experiencing it with more ease and grace, and I use that term a lot because this is, as I've said before, our planet is supporting all of this new energy in a way that it hadn't in the past. So it's going to get easier, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to experience a lot of these different stretches of our being. Maybe it might be stretching, activating of chakras. It might be stretching literally of our consciousness, and where we don't have a grasp on what has been quote unquote real in the past. It might be the Ascension symptoms. It might be Ascension flus, aches, pains. But the more that you're on the journey, the more consciously you're traveling, we do begin to be able to decipher what is happening, and we learn to have more faith and trust, because that is paramount, and it just is part and parcel with what we develop along this process, is more faith and trust that whatever we're experiencing is going to pass, and we're going to level out. And hopefully we level out, right, to a whole next level of being, because we've been able to embody new states of consciousness, higher frequencies, higher wisdom that also we get downloaded to support our unique journey. So that is a little bit about how to just keep moving through some of these different sensations, and, you know, a light overview as to what is possibly and most likely in this kind of case going on. And so we just have to be gentle with ourselves, practice patience, tap into faith and trust, tap into divine source, even if we feel disconnected from that for a while. Because again, we aren't really disconnected. It's just whatever shifts are going on in our consciousness have us perceiving things in a very different way. Okay? So I'm going to keep this nice and short. Thank you so much. I invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because I will be doing shorter videos and maybe some longer informational videos as well, just to keep us all plugged in. And for those of you who resonate with what I share, welcome, and thank you for following me. If you want more detailed information, definitely follow me on Facebook. My website has blog posts, and my book, Awakening from the Dream, a Kundalini memoir, can be found on Amazon, and you can also get it directly, a signed copy from me that I will send to you via my website. All right. Thank you so much, and have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye-bye.